Welcome to Real Money Talks. Real strategies from the moneymakers and the world changers that you can use to make millions, keep those millions, multiply your wealth, and build your team. Here's your host, author of 5 New York Times bestsellers, money expert on Dr. Phil, CNN, CNBC, The Street TV, Fox News, and The View, Laurel Langmeyer.
Hello, everybody. Eddie Speed here with Note School, and I have my friend, Miss Laurel Langmeyer, with me today. Laurel, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, Eddie. It's great to be here. Hope you all are well out there listening.
We are, and the reason I'm excited to have you, as always, of course, but the reason I'm excited to have you is we are going to talk about a brand new book, and I love the title, right?
Yep.
How to Make Your Kids Millionaires.
Yep. It's so fun. This has been a 2-year. I'm going to show the big manuscript. It's coming out on Mother's Day. So May 8th, 9th, and 10th, it'll be in all the bookstores. Make Your Kids Millionaires. And it really came from another client of mine who's my co-author. He's an Air Force fighter pilot. And we were talking about just financial literacy and how it's just not taught in the families. And I said, my kids were quite the experiment as a single mom. And, it was one of those, hey, we should write a book. Well, here we are 2 years later. We went to McGraw-Hill and did a big book contract with the New York publisher, and away we go.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I want to talk about, what does this mean? It's a great, I love the title, How to Make Your Kids Millionaires. What is that about?
So really it's financial literacy, and it's a guide. So it's really not a kid's book, it's a parent's book. So it's a step-by-step guide. Really truth telling, because we're not taught financial literacy. So from age 0 to 5, what do you do? Age 6 to 8. So it's literally broken to chapters age by age, all the way to 18. And then, with my son Logan at 18, I signed him into one of our LLCs, which was an 18-year-old LLC. And you know what that means for credit and financial status and credit. So it really is the tell-all, Eddie. It's from debit cards to bank accounts to when do you let them invest. How a lot of it is learn to earn. There's a lot of entrepreneurial energy in it. One of the themes of the book is never pay your kid an allowance, which is I've never paid my kids an allowance. They've had to earn a portion of everything they wanted. So we're not raising spoiled kids. I want to clarify that. We're raising smart, responsible kids.
That's great. So I'm curious. My grandson is 3, and Martha keeps him a lot. My wife Martha, and she has a little incentive for him to do good deeds, and the incentive is he gets to go fill a cup up with coins, right? So at age 1 to 5, what could you teach a child?
Well, you're teaching them basic money. Like I traveled, as you know, 6 of the 7 continents with my kids, right? So I had my son as a single mom. He didn't want to be a dad. So I started into single, parenting. And then, what kind of cash flow it takes to have that. But so early on, first of all, my company employed Logan the minute he was born, employed Tristan the minute she was born. People question that and they say, well, what does a 0-year-old do? What does a 1-year-old do? Well, they can be a model for your company. I do a lot of promotion. You and Martha do a lot of promotion. So we have company calendars. And actually at 3 years old, Logan actually got hired because we actually registered them with a modeling agency. And we put them both of my kids are in my books. My son has the Never Pay Your Kids an Allowance. He owns part of that IP. My daughter and I have one on a financial filing cabinet for kids. And those were done at 5 and 6 years old. So there's always things they want. In most households, kids are taught, if you want to make money, get a job. And the whole premise of this is, what if they could be little entrepreneurs, right? The 21st century lemonade stand. And these kids are so brilliant. My kids have had, from my daughter made little wallets. My son had a smoothie, stand. My son shoveled snow. We live in Lake Tahoe, rake leaves, detailed cars, tutored, ski lessons. And so it's really thinking, my daughter right now, we live by some neighbors who have chickens. So she's the chicken sitter now. It's thinking, what could you do to go create money? So instead of having the conversation, Eddie, where we can't afford it, the conversation is, well, how can we afford it? What could you do? What could I do? How could we do this together? Or really how to just support the kid to go do additional tasks that are more entrepreneurial. So In the never pay your kids an allowance, I actually give a task sheet. So there's home chores just because you live there. And then you start negotiating. And I started this at 3 and 4 years old. So like your grandson could do this with Martha. And so what up and above those basic home chores do they want to do? Logan at 3 years old, believe it or not, loved taking out trash. So he loved taking a big garbage bag and he walked all the way around the house and he emptied all the garbage bags in that. And that was an extra task that he got, we negotiated, I think it was $5 or $6 for. And he would do that, at whatever time frequency. And we would have a little calendar. And when he did the task, he got paid. So it's much more entrepreneurial than I'm just going to give you $5 or $10 as an allowance, but there's no tasks, so there's no responsibility associated to it. So it's really a formal process that we really teach kids. And when they start, they are so brilliant when they learn to negotiate, like in their teens. Get ready. Those kids are going to get really smart about negotiating for money.
That's great. That is so awesome. So Laurel, I've heard you talk about this several times, and I think this is really important. So talk to us about this theory of own nothing, control everything. What is that?
Rockefeller said it. Rockefeller said what kept him his wealth is he owned nothing and controlled everything. So what that means is that your companies make the money, right? So there's either I always call it employee life or corporate life. When you live your life through corporations, LLCs, limited partnerships, S Corp, C Corps, your companies make the money. You have a legal right to do 81,000 pages of tax deductions in the United States. In Canada, because I'm married to a Canadian, there's only 3,400 pages. But when you make money, now you get to do deductions, business trips, you live differently. Then you pay tax. And then all of those entities are held in trust. So yes, you're in control, but you personally don't own, the companies own. And I've just followed the Rockefeller principle as I wrote the book. And as I became a millionaire in 1999, my kids on paper, obviously legally, none of that can transact until they're 18. But my son's now 22, getting a finance and accounting degree. He'll be a CPA. I think it'll be a nice transition for him to take it. But I think, so many people are still in that, what I call 1940s and 50s, that Ward and June Cleaver. The only way to make money is go to school, get a good job, and maximize your 401k. And you and I know that is not how wealthy people have done it. There are some people who saved and scrunched and, were super frugal and made it in 20 or 30 years by doing just employment. But almost everybody I know that are millionaires, multimillionaires, they have an entrepreneur venture. They have something, right? They're doing note school with you, right? They're doing other real estate projects with you. I'm in the restaurant business now. You got to have something else, and you got to train these kids. These kids are very different growing up than the way we grew up.
That's absolutely true. And though, Laurel, I had great parents, but my parents did not talk about legacy and wealth building. They talked about working hard. They talked about earning money. They talked about paying your way, but they didn't talk about building wealth. And I've tried to, my parents were awesome, by the way. And I got to go help my dad build some wealth in his later life relative to what I do. But I want to talk to you about, I know the book is a lot, as you described it, as about financial literacy, but what does that mean? Like when we say financial literacy, if I try to define it, what would that be?
That would mean that you have enough knowledge, that you have the knowledge to make smart financial decisions. So that would come from what age do you employ your kids, for example? When do you get them a Roth IRA? When do you get them a checking account, a savings account? How do they use a debit card? How and when do they get a credit card? Like I'm very aggressive. When like my kids at 13 got a credit card, and yes, it was mine, but then they had a limit and they were responsible for reconciling that credit card. And what they learned is, of course, they were helping my credit at the time, is that they can use the bank's money for 30 days instead of using your debit card. How to reconcile a bank statement. Everything's electronic and everybody just thinks there's magically it's going to be okay. It's not. Banks are, I shouldn't say frequently wrong, but we've known them to be wrong. How do you use credit? How do you get corporate credit? It's every little piece. How do you get insurance? Should you really be debt free when debt is so cheap, right? So it's a little bit of all of those concepts where, to me, financial literacy is you can make smart decisions because you're from a base of knowledge, not a base of emotion. And you know, like I know, Eddie, everybody, like, and I was in The Secret. So the biggest story I hear from most people is, oh, I just have such mindset issues. I said, no, you don't have mindset issues with money. You just don't know about money. Let's just take the emotion out of it and put knowledge in place and say, if you learned about money and you actually knew how to do a deal, how to even get a loan, how to do banking properly, how to use credit cards properly. If you actually had a knowledge base instead of an emotional base, you'd have a different financial outcome in your household.
Well, I think that's what's so good about your book is essentially a blueprint.
It is.
And as you talk about these different phases and different things that you do, and we worry about people making bad choices with credit.
Yeah.
But what I would say is, I think that a lot of kids grow up with no training about credit,
Right.
and that's what leads them to bad choices, is because they're making an uninformed decision.
Yep.
And I think your book is all about making informed decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. And doing it in the household. And, some of the feedback we've gotten is from the parents said, well, what if we're not millionaires? We're going to get this book. And I said, do it with the kids. Just start financial literacy as a conversation. So like some of the things I am, huge believer in are games, right? So I have my Millionaire Maker game that's right up there. But that Millionaire Maker game came out of the fact that I was the master distributor for the cash flow game for 5 years. From 96 to about 2000, I worked with the Rich Dad Poor Dad team. So, the way that I encourage parents is start with Monopoly, pull out the old Monopoly board, and then get cash flow, great game. Sharon Lechter has another one that's not as popular, but really well done on Thrive Time, which is how to do credit, and then put the Millionaire Maker. But start this conversation of how do we make money? And if you travel around the world, like what is money? What is currencies? I mean, cryptocurrency, it's a currency. It's here. It's not like something that's going to go away. It's already transacting. In real estate, people are already buying, houses with Bitcoin and Ethereum. And so if you don't have the basics of money knowledge, I would be scared to death if I was out there. I mean, people are so blind. And like every day, if you just think about financial transactions, just in general, and this is a great homework for those of you listening, if you don't believe me, just bring a little journal. Find, like, every time you do a transaction, like I bought a little coffee this morning, right? Notice it's not Starbucks. I support local small business. So, but like from buying lunch, buying coffee, was your mortgage paid today? Did you have an auto pay on your car today? Like, you're in financial transactions every day. There's not a day you're not in financial transaction, ever. There's always going on. So it's fascinating. And this is probably what's been fascinating since I started learning money at 17 years old, is how do people just not want to know more when it's the basis of how you actually get around this world? It's amazing how many people just blindly have what I call inherited behaviors instead of stop, pick up this book. It's 0 to 18. And if you're 32, 42, start at 0 and say, what things should I have done, and just catch up. So even if you're a single person, I still say, get it. It's a very thorough blueprint. The one thing I want to mention too, Eddie, is because I'd have a co-author. Like, I'm a single mom, and you know me, right? I've had private planes. I have traveled the world. I am if I want it, I'm going to buy it. And I go out and go get it. We go hustle. And I've taught my kids to really hustle. So that was us. Kyle, 25-year lieutenant colonel, Air Force, very different, travels around the world, became a great stock trader. And he's great at real estate, lives in Oklahoma. So here you're going to have two very different families, and how we both did it, meaning how we both have financial literate kids, and how you can do it too. So the theme of the book is pick a path. Here's mine, here's Kyle's, and make a plan. So you don't have to do everything I did. You don't have to do everything Kyle did, but we give you so much breadth of what do you do at 0. Maybe you don't want to employ your kid at 0. I did. And then from that, I mean, both my kids have had amazing modeling careers, formal ones. They've been paid $2,500, $5,000, $10,000 to model. And that just kind of came out of the fact they were registered with the modeling agency and they're cute. but there's so many things you can do. And I just want to open parents' eyes to say the school system, it's not the right place. It's going to be very skewed if it is. This needs to be, what do you and your family want? And I think people are really going to have a robust blueprint. And what's going to happen on our webpage, Eddie, is we're going to take the Make Your Kids Millionaires website once the pre-sales and the book's out, and we're going to go checklist by checklist by checklist. So we're going to make it super simple. I'm also in conversations with homeschoolers about making it into a K through 12 homeschool curriculum. So now parents can actually have the guides, the tests, the objectives of what do you do in kindergarten, first grade, second. Like, that's really the home run of this book. We get this into a homeschool situation. That's the home run. In my mind, we have solved an enormous problem for the not only nation, but the world. It's huge.
Well, we've got the information on ordering the book right here, and they'll be able to see that, Laurel. And but the big thing I see is this. We teach our kids all kind of things. We teach them manners. We teach them literacy and writing and arithmetic.
Yep.
We have them take music lessons. Both of our families, your family and my family, have done a lot in athletics.
Yep.
And we spent a lot of time and energy to get them the right guidance. And so much of the time as a parent, we're not giving them the guidance in the most important thing. And that you said this, right? It's not giving your kids $1 million. It's showing your kids how to make $1 million. That's a way different concept.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and then I want to go to one point you made. Like, I had great parents too. I grew up in Nebraska on a farm. But in our era, generational wealth building was never a conversation. I mean, I didn't even know what an asset or liability was until I got in my first finance class in college. Like, I was never taught any of this either. And I just think most families don't know how to teach it because they don't know it. And then at the end, this is the other thing too, is starting generational wealth. I talk a lot about that, more than Kyle, but from a perspective of why would you build this wealth and then hand it to uneducated kids? So parents, if you built wealth and you have 20 and 30 and 40-year-old kids, this book's relevant for you too, because those kids, you're really just going to hand them wealth with no knowledge and no plan. Like, I love that my son's going to become a CPA. Like, he's already looking at what we have. And, he's like, my gosh, you have a lot of alternatives. I mean, he's starting to get it. He's getting that debt is actually going to be transferable upon death. Like, why would you pay something off at 2% when he could just assume those mortgages? Like, so much knowledge has got to be transferred. Eddie, the statistic right now is only 2 generations can keep wealth. That means your kids and maybe your kids' kids, and it's gone. So, I do a lot of experiments. I like to break the pattern and see how many generations my kids can hold this together and stimulate it. And it's not just for my family. I just feel like, I loved it. We dedicated the book to our kids, thanking them for the experiment of their life. And it was kind of fun because they went through, some things didn't work. Not everything we did work, but more work than not work. And we just want families to realize this is an important, critical thing that they got to put in their house.
My guest today is Laurel Langmeyer. She wrote an incredible book, How to Make Your Kids Millionaires. And she has talked about really that book, the blueprint that it is. And I'm very excited, Laurel. I want people to get this book. I want them to get this blueprint. This is probably one of the most important things financially that can affect our family, because all of us really, honestly, we want legacy. We want to be able to pass along legacy, but many of us don't really know how to do it.
Right. And this is the blueprint. This is the blueprint. And again, we're going to be with you through the years. We're going to move our website, like I said, to checklists, and also just keeping up to date on laws, right? The Roth was under a big attack this year. IRS codes change, tax codes change from how much you can pay your kids. So our site will become the resource guide to stay current, I guess, because things are going to change, right? Asset classes are going to change. Cryptocurrencies here, NFTs are here. Things are going to continue to ebb and flow, and we're going to be the place to be your guide and help you move through it.
Laurel Langmeyer, How to Make Your Kids Millionaires. There's information right here on the band of how you can order it, and you guys are really going to enjoy it. Laurel, you have been a true treasure to hear from today.
Thank you, Eddie. Appreciate you being here, and all of you. Look forward to seeing you on the other side of our website once you grab the book. The one thing I do, one last bonus site, we are giving about $1,500 of bonuses for the pre-order, because we're in a pre-order. And one of the most exciting things is once you get your book in hand, the beginning of June, Kyle and I are going to do 2 live classes with everybody who has their book and give you some things to do through the summer, like summer activities, money-making activities. I'm also part of a kids bank that'll be launching in the beginning of June. which is how to learn to earn. And we'll have all these principles built into the banking and debit system. And then in August, we're going to come back and just kind of ramp up for the school year. So we're going to be guiding you on a really high touch basis as you get the book and be with us.
That's awesome. Awesome.
So thank you.
Right here, you guys know how to order the book, and there's going to be a lot of benefits of doing that. And the book is going to be a great blueprint for you to change your direction and your family legacy financially. Thank you, Laurel.
Thank you, Eddie. Appreciate it. Take
Bye-bye.
care, you. So this is Laurel, and you've been listening to my podcast. If you've enjoyed this, I have a couple things you can do that are completely up to you. Number one, take my quiz. Go to integratedwealthsystems.com and take the quiz. You will find that there's one of 4 personalities, financial personalities we call them, that you're going to fall into. So as you take the quiz, it'll actually go through and identify, are you in stagnant cash flow, right? Are you overpaying taxes? Do you have debt issues? Are you a lifestyle junkie? Where are you? And then from there, it goes to a video that actually gives you some solutions on how to correct that problem. So again, go to integratedwealthsystems.com, take my quiz, and we'll go from there.
Thanks for listening to the Real Money Talks podcast. Your host has been Laurel Langmeyer, author of 5 New York Times bestsellers, money expert on Dr. Phil, CNN, CNBC, The Street TV, Fox News, and The View. Want to learn more about off-Wall Street investing, tax strategies, and multi-million-dollar business strategies? Visit liveoutloud.com/podcast for past episodes, show notes, and resources. For some special wealth-building gifts only for Laurel's podcast listeners, visit liveoutloud.com/podcast gifts. Do you have a burning question for Laurel? Visit asklaurel.com to submit your question, and it may just be covered on a podcast episode. So stay tuned and be sure to subscribe to get new episodes every week.